Hi guys, let's talk about diet and nutrition. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the word diet. Now, diet means a restriction, okay? It means a restricted period where you don't intake as much, you reduce your calories, you reduce your carbs, whatever it is you want to call it. Guys, it's simple. If you've lived a certain way for a long time and then you restrict yourself, you might lose some weight, you might find your body changes on some level, and then what happens is you stop the restriction, you go back to the way you were, and you're back on the original path. If you're driving to London and you start driving to Ipswich, and then you stop driving to Ipswich and drive back towards London, you're going to end up at that original destination eventually. You might lose some, but then you're going to gain it back as you go the other way. More guys, it's more about experience and learning, and you're going to find you're going to go back and forth with your diet. I have done that for years, okay? I was 20 stone at one point at my biggest weight, and believe me, it wasn't muscle. Excuse me, still got a cough at the moment. So let's talk more about nutrition, okay? Nutrition is basically where you're putting the good things in your body, the healthy things. Think of your car and the way you treat your car. And most people, what they do is they treat their car better than they do their own body. What I mean by this is a car needs certain things. It doesn't need certain other things. If you've got an unleaded car, you put in unleaded petrol, you put in water, and you put in good oils. If you were to put in that same car leaded fuel, orange juice, and marmalade, it's not going to run well, okay? It's going to cough, it's going to splutter, it's not going to run the way you want it to. We look after our cars, we put in what we're supposed to. Think of your body as the same thing. You need good fuels. See what I did there? Good fuels. You need water. There it is again, water, just like a car. And you need good oil, aka fats, okay? Yes, you need fats in your diet. People often say, now this is my opinion, and I have found a lot of my clients have achieved great things when they've kind of moved over to this way of thinking, is that fats are not this evil entity. Fat is not fat in the human body. You don't eat fat, and unless you use burn the calories off, if you eat nothing but fats and then you just sit around and do nothing, well, yes, then it's going to transfer into fats. But fats are a good energy source, and the body does need them. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about good fats? Okay, we are talking about polyunsaturates and monosaturates. We are not so much talking about trans fats, which you don't tend to get in the UK where we are, but you do get it in some other countries, so do avoid trans fats. And you want to avoid saturated fats, okay? Saturated fats. Now, the trouble is that a lot of things that we eat that are good, that have good fats, they'll tend to have the bad fats as well. So all we want to do is try and keep the saturated fats low down as best we can. And one of the best ways to do this is to eat natural foods, okay? Natural foods. We've all heard it 1,000 times. What's a good food that's got good fats? Avocados, okay? Avocados have really good balance in them. They're very good for the ketogenic diet. They're very good for low carb. They taste good. Yeah, okay, some people don't agree with that. Personally, I really like avocado. Didn't like them at first. Did start to like them after a while. What's other ones? Well, we've got things like avocado oil. Yes, avocado oil. Okay, check out Costco. They tend to sell these. Little advertisement for Costco there. Avocado oil. Avocado mayonnaise. Okay, mainly made by oils and avocado. Okay. What else have we got? Well, there's some cheeses. Feta cheese. Brie. But you have to watch out. Some of these cheeses are going to have higher saturated fats. Try to make sure your saturated fats are at least half what your mono and polyunsaturated fats are in whatever you're eating. Now we're going to talk about protein. What are good proteins? What are bad proteins? Well, it's not really a lot of bad proteins, but there's a lot of proteins that have had a lot done to them. So obviously, if you don't want to gain weight, protein shakes are one option. Yes, I'm starting with the last one. I normally end with that one. Protein shakes. You want to watch out for things like ones that are weight gainers, and ones that are going to have very high calorie. I like things like Diet Whey, Metapure. These tend to be the lower carb ones. And then we also talk about other meats. What's one of the ones that's really good for your brain? What's really good for fats? What's really good for oils? And has a great protein content? It's going to be Fish, yes, fish, guys. We are talking about salmon, okay, as one of the #1. We are talking about cod, haddock, kippers, tuna, okay. Tuna is a fantastic protein, and it is one of the closest protein sources that's close to human muscle, so it converts very quickly in the body. And of course, protein shakes, as I've already mentioned, protein shakes are powder form, so they break down a lot quicker. So if you're going to have them later in the evening, they're going to break down the body faster. If you have a steak, I love a steak, okay? But if you have a steak, that is going to be processing in your body for several hours after it. Say you've had it at 9 o'clock and you go to bed at 11, you're going to be still processing that until 1 o'clock in the morning, okay? A protein shake will break down a lot quicker, 1 to 2 hours, especially if you made it well. Okay, so let's talk about carbs. Now, different people have different views on carbs. Me personally, I tend to go for intermittent fasting, talked about that before, and I tend to go for the ketogenic style, which is very, very low carb. Most foods, proteins and fat foods, tend to have some level of carbs in them. So you're not cutting carbs 100%. But you don't really need to add more carbs. That's my opinion. That is not everybody's opinion. A lot of people do believe in carbs. It all depends on your body type. My body tends to be endomorphic. It tends to lean towards big muscle, but it also tends to lean towards gaining pounds and gaining fat. So I keep my carbs very, very low. I tend to allow the foods like the fish. I didn't mention steak earlier. Lamb, turkey, chicken, all those kind of protein foods, they tend to have a small amount of carbs in them, and fats, some of them have, like avocado, tends to have a little bit of carbs, just a little bit, and that tends to be enough carbs for me in my macronutrients. But if you are going to have carbs, I recommend not having more than a small teacup's worth on any plate you eat. Does this mean you can eat cereal? No, it does not, okay? If it's pasta, rice, bread, anything that's artificial particularly, okay? Chewy bars, protein bars, things like that. Yes, I reach for a protein bar from time to time. I do enjoy them, but I do find some protein bars start to gain me weight again. So sometimes a little too easy. One protein bar I do recommend as an advertising video is a Quest bar, okay? Quest bars are quite good, and they are quite low in the sugar and in the carbohydrates. So if you're gonna have a protein bar, a Quest bar is one option. Definitely recommend the app MyFitnessPal. It's a great way to teach you what's in foods. By inputting your intake each day, you can actually see what you're eating. You need to have a balanced diet, and you don't want to be having a massively high caloric diet if you're trying to lose weight or sculpt or tone. So back to our original, we got our 3 main macronutrients there. Our nutrition we talked about is our fats, our protein, our carbohydrates. The last one I'm going to mention is sugars. Now, obviously, there's lots of other things. We talk about fiber, we talk about potassium, we talk about zinc, magnesium, blah, 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 all the other ones. But our main 3 are fats, proteins, and carbs. But the last one we talk about is sugar. And sugar can be a difficult one for people because most people are on some level addicted to sugar. If you're having regular carbohydrates, if you start the day with a sugary cereal, and when I say sugary cereal, I mean about 90% of them are sugary cereals, so swallow that one, guys. Sugary cereals are not good. Then they might have a sandwich for lunch, then they might have a biscuit or chocolate bar mid-afternoon, or even fruit, and then they might have a chili con carne with loads of rice in the evening, and then before bed they'll have another snack bar, a piece of fruit, thinking they're being healthy. Every single one of those has got sugar in, so you're going all day long with sugar, and you're in the carb cycle. You're constantly needing, every couple of hours you want to eat some more carbs because your body breaks them down very quickly, whereas protein and fats break down slower, so you will feel more satiated on the long term. So by cutting down your sugars and cutting down your carbs, this means you are now reducing your what's called net carbohydrates, and that's the whole thing. If you are doing ketogenic or low carb, you need to understand this. Carbs and sugars count as one and the same. You don't want to have more than about 10 grams of sugar a day, especially if you're going keto, and you want to have I would say 20 grams at most of carbs. And you're going to get most of them from the fats and protein that you eat. See it as a total. So if you're having 25 grams of carbs and you're having 5 grams of sugar, that's actually 30 net carbs. Okay? And that's where it gets a bit technical. I'm not going to follow down that route because it'll get too complicated. But if you would like to learn more, please guys, do subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment below. Ask us some questions. If you add a comment that we like, we will put you in our little competition. We are offering an NNN online fitness session or a personal training session where you can basically ask your questions. We can have a training session together. We'll spend at least half an hour with you discussing exactly what you're trying to achieve and give you some feedback, and that's absolutely free. All you need to do is put a comment below this video or any of our other videos, and we will pick one of the comments every 30 days to give an online personal training session over Skype with both NNN. Nat and myself will give you 30 minutes of our time to talk about exactly what goals you're trying to achieve, guys. So remember, carbs, protein, fats, use MyFitnessPal to track them, watch the sugars, and experience, guys. Find out what works for you. Thanks very much, guys. Have a fantastic day. Keep those carbs low.